What up, roomies? Imagine claiming that you channel an ancient Egyptian goddess, not for guidance, but to build a business, heal people, and even tap into the human body on a medical level. Our guest says that she's the High Priestess of Sekhmet, an ancient deity from the Egyptian pantheon. And she works with something called Sekhmet energy, a force that she says older than modern healing systems. So the real question is this a spiritual awakening or something people don't fully understand yet? But let's find out. Welcome, Angela. Welcome to Neighbors, and I'm happy to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're on, and yet again, like I said before, like when I saw your post, and it really caught me by surprise because you don't hear things like, "Oh, I'm the high priestess of an ancient god" anymore. You usually hear like, I'm a reverend, I'm a priest, I'm a deacon, things of that nature, and it's always referred to the not the Islamic, the Abrahamic religions. You know what I mean? Or if not,
Yes.
like Buddhism or Hinduism. So I'm gonna just get things started right here. What does it actually mean to be a high priestess of Sekhmet in 2026?
Oh, man. Okay. So, what that means is there's one thing when you have reverence for a goddess or a deity, right? Or a
Yeah.
lineage, when you feel a connection. There's another thing which is being the high priestess, or even if you're on the priestess path, of actually following the system and the structure of that lineage,
Okay.
right? And so in 2026, what that looks like, at least for me, is my entire business is channeled. So it's a little different than maybe your average person, but she sent me a book, right? The book of Sekhmet, which is the form of magic or solar energy that's channeled when I do my work. And it has Sekhmet has 7 degrees, right?
Okay.
So that is the structure in which you study the lineage. And so to be a priestess or a high priestess, right, is to dedicate and commit yourself to understanding and learning Egyptian theology, right? In the cosmic sense, earthly sense, and how do I take this current from a primordial goddess older than we can comprehend and translate that to modern day. And so that's what the last 8 years of study has been for me is, okay, I get it conceptually. Now what do we need with humanity where we are in our evolution? And so that's been my journey, and it's been amazing to be able to help heal people with Sikhem, but then
Yeah.
also have them walk the path of the degrees, the priestess path, right? And
Yeah.
to honor that lineage and to commit to it.
That's so dope. So, and just humor me here, right? With a
Okay.
religion that's been, I don't want to say gone for thousands of years, but it's kind of been, not one of the major religions for so long. Are like the teachings still the same from like ancient times to today, or have they kind of like modernized with like the times and stuff like that?
So they have been modernized, but not they've been modernized in 2 ways. So there's way one, the honor and reverence that they match what we need today. So it's been carried from the ancient
Okay.
times. And then there's also a modernization that waters it down, right? That just makes it easy for everyone to access. And that's not the modernization that I lean into. Yes, it's the one of reverence and honor. And so what's beautiful is when we can honor, you'll hear me use that word a
Mhm.
lot, the structure of Sikhem, right? And if we understand what each god or goddess represents, you don't get lost because that is what's been carried through time, right? The representation of Sekhmet, goddess of death and destruction, patron of physicians and healing, that's who she was since she was discovered, and that's who she is now. It's just the way that she moves in society might be a little different than ancient Egypt. Does that
I
make
get you.
sense?
No, it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense because you're basically letting us know that even though that this is an ancient way of life and an ancient study, is kind of came into 2026 with grace, and we can still follow the ancient ways even though we're living in in today's modern society. So
Yes, 100%.
like, did you always have this connection, or did like you have an awakening, or what's the story behind like you and Sekhmet?
Oh my gosh. So I had no idea who she was. I come from corporate America, which I love because everything that I do with my services and all that was given to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this real? Like, is this a thing? Right. And I had to, it was like a trust fall. Like, well,
Yeah,
you're going to do it or you're not. And I chose to do it. Right. And here I am. But basically, what got me here was about 8 years ago, I went through extremely abusive, narcissistic relationship.
right.
Um, and just brought me to my knees, just destroyed me. And I remember in that moment, I said, I need to do something radically different. I don't know what it is, but the way I'm leading my life right now is not working. And so I started with ayahuasca. And it wasn't until maybe like a few years after that I started this journey right on my spiritual path. Like what I was raised Catholic and Christian, but I was open right to all things. So I did this like oracle tarot reading from this lady that I was drawn to on TikTok.
Yeah,
And she's like, there's this deity, this goddess reaching out to you from Egypt. And I was like, Isis? That's all I knew, right? I was like, I
yeah,
know Isis or Ra. And she said no. And that's when she said Sekhmet. And I felt it in my body, but I was like, I have no idea who this goddess is, like at all. No, like, and I felt bad in a way. And then when I looked her up, right? When I looked her up, I was like, oh shit, wow, okay, goddess of death and destruction. That's rich. Like, I was kind of scared, to be honest, like
true.
entering in, this is where I'm at, these ancient deity that has a living light statue in Karnak. Like, who am I to even step into this, right? So from
Yeah.
there, it was it was just one step after another. And I used plant medicine to channel, right, self-led. And there's a whole story into that, but that's how I discovered her.
That's so dope. That's so dope.
Yeah.
Because I know, and I've heard a lot of stories about ayahuasca and how, when you're ready for it, it'll call to you or it'll find you itself.
Hmm.
And I've been on my journey to kind of like meet grandmother ayahuasca myself, but I guess like I'm not at a point in my life where she's like, all right, cool, let's have a little chat, my friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
But
think too. Oh, go ahead.
no, 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 no. You were saying?
No, that's so true because when I said for some reason ayahuasca, it was the one time I've ever done it. And I was like, I think that's what I need. The next day I went to this park I've gone to for 20 years. And this man, I've never met him. He's like, I don't know, he's like maybe in his 30s or something with his dog. And he's like, we just start talking about ayahuasca and a spirit. And that's never happened to me in like the
Yeah,
20 years I've been going to this park. And then that led to him giving me a number of someone. And then I remember like 3 days from there, I took a shower. I got out of the shower. I jumped. I about fell and hit my head because Grandma Aya was sitting there right on this like nook area in these old doilies, cloths,
yeah,
like looking at me, just nodding, like, and that was time. And she can show herself to you if you have sight, right? Like in your dreams, or this was just in the reality day to day, because like I have sight that way. But it's cool that you say that because I know a big thing is willingness, right? To
yeah.
say, like, okay, because it can be a scary journey, but it's so liberating.
No, and I've heard that several times before, and I've had I want to say my dabbles with other psychedelics.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've had very, very profound experiences. And, one of those experiences was when I was, I took a big dose of shrooms and I was kind of like seeing the dimensions stack up on each other.
Hmm.
And I was kind of seeing the spirits and deities that surround people. Maybe I was just out there, but when I looked over my shoulder, Thoth was there. And I was like, oh
Oh,
shit, my guy.
yes.
And then I look over my other shoulder, and then my aunt, who I considered a second mother, was also there as well. That's why when I made the correlation, I was just like, oh, like these are just like the spirits or like the energies that surround me and surround everybody else. So I really do get the whole plant-based medicine and it leading you to like these higher revelations of oneself. I really do get that. Now
It's powerful.
it is, and it definitely changes your perspective on a lot of things too. And it also opens up your mind to you kind of like knowing that there's something more than what's here right now in the human perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just in this dimension, right, on Earth.
That ass. So like, so like, how did like your training go, or how did like you learn? Like, how was it when you were like being trained to be a priestess, or like did like were other people involved, or was it more like, you know, you were getting like direct messages from Sekhmet herself, and she was like kind of guiding you?
Oh my gosh, this is the question, the $1,000,000 question, right? Is
Yes, it
how?
is.
Yeah, I get it. It's gnarly. I still sit with it sometimes and I'm like, how did I get here? So as of now, I've done over 19 shamanic plant medicine journeys. So
Okay.
shrooms, right? Somehow I knew that that was my gateway to being initiated into this work. So each one was either an initiation or I was given instruction on what I needed to bring here, right? So I
Yeah.
discovered Sekhmet, went into my first journey, bam, bam, bam. The first thing I was given was ancestral curse removal. And I was like, what? You want me to say the word curse? Like, right? Because I'm a Virgo, Capricorn, right? Like, I don't get lost in woo woo. And that's something I
Yeah.
appreciate more so now, but I'm not going to, lose myself in that. I'm very logical. And so I was like arguing, can I call it something different? And the whole structure I was given, the 30-day structure, right? How to do the ritual, who I needed to do it on and for free. And from there, each journey I was given a new service, right? Or I was given an instruction. Now, when I would go up there, and I just had a knowing in my body. It's hard to describe. I just know. And looking back now, I know that I've been training for this for lifetimes. This isn't my first lifetime doing this. And I would go up and I've died twice. Um, Sekhmet would be there with the Egyptian pantheon. Like I remember when I got initiated by the ancient gods and gods, priests and priestesses of Kemet, Egypt, the wielders of this cosmic energy. And it was excruciating. Like part of being a priestess, right? And to be a high priestess, it's that you've walked the path, usually many
Yeah.
lifetimes, and you're able to guide and teach others, right? It's not just you creating your business, it's like a leader of leaders, a healer of healers, right? Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And so what's funny is Sekhmet, she just knows who I am, is that she actually told my partner that I was a high priestess, because what I got later is that I wouldn't have believed her, right? Because I feel like sometimes when we're going through so much transition or when we're between dimensions, yes, we
Yeah.
can think like, I think, did I make this up? Do I want to be a high priestess? Is that even a thing? And so him telling me he's not super in the woo-woo space, he's very grounded, he's my anchor. Him saying that, I was like, really? You saw it? He's like, yeah, she told me to tell you that. And I was like, and from there, I started to discover and create what the priestess path looks like, right? And I'm
Mhm.
channeling a new 8 degrees right now. But it really is holding yourself to account when it comes to cosmic law, right? It's are you able to wield this energy, right? This cosmic energy, because it comes from the outer galaxies, and the accountability there is if you don't hold it in honor and reverence, you will be destroyed by it. And that looks different for everyone. But it's really
Yeah.
real because I've made some mistakes and they've hurt.
No, of course, because, but at the end of the day, you know, you are human, even though you're
Yes.
connected. You are human, and you're
Yes.
bound to, you know, make some
Yeah.
mistakes, and you're gonna learn from them. You know what I mean?
Gotta
That's part
learn.
of
Gotta
that's
learn.
that's a part of the experience. And
Yes.
I guess not in the case that you getting hurt, but that's where, you know, the fun lies. You know, learning
Yeah.
from, you know, the mistakes and all that. So
That's my dog.
like, do you like train other priestesses or priests to like come up in like that, how do I say it, in like that brotherhood or sisterhood
The
of
lineage.
Sankmat, the lineage? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The Sekhmet lineage. And then the structure or the system used is Sekhem.
Okay.
So, yes, I do. But what's beautiful about it is there's two modes, right? So there's the priestess path where you learn the degrees and you actually are moving towards becoming a priestess, maybe a high priestess, to right. That's completely dependent on the individual, and sharing Sekhem with the world, right? Teaching the degrees. And then there's the other path that is using the system of Sekhem as a key, a master key. It's one of the universe's master keys to unlock your soul signature, whatever gifts you have already innately within you. Right? It helps to unlock those so that you can step into full authenticity to impact the world.
Okay.
Right. So everybody who steps into it doesn't necessarily have to become a Sekhem teacher or priestess or priest, right? They can use it as a way to fuel their own evolution and their purpose.
That's so dope. And do you ever have people that come to you that want to like kind of like go down the lineage, but they're not, you know, I would say a daughter or a son of Saket, and they're like one of like another deity's like child, if I'm like wording that correctly?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So if they don't necessarily resonate with Sekhmet, is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah. Like I've had people come to me who are more in, the Greek lineage, or even people who come from Catholicism or Christianity, right? And they're just curious about something bigger or larger or deeper, right? Just pulling. Because what I love about systems and structures, at least in this way that I've been shown, is they're not binding you to the system or structure. They're liberating you. So whenever somebody feels called to the energy, they don't have to believe in Sekhmet. That there is an honor there that she
Yeah.
is who I channel and, right, like I move with, but there's no obligation. It's pure sovereignty, which I love, because if you know me, I'm not, you're gonna put me under your thumb. I'm all about us being sovereign, and we each are here for a reason, where our impact is so different but so needed.
I feel you. And do you see that a lot of people like that are like, Catholic, because I was also raised Catholic as well. Right now I'm kind of going through like my agnostic stage, I guess you would say,
Okay.
where I'm just like exploring my spirituality and seeing what's out there. But
Yeah.
do you see that people usually from like the Abrahamic religions or like, Buddhism or Hinduism, they'll kind of like branch out and kind of study these things to kind of like liberate themselves now more in 2026 than they did like previous like 20 years ago or 15 years ago?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was one of those people, right? I was
Yeah,
raised Catholic, and then mom went Christian because she didn't want to be Catholic, and then from there, what's beautiful about it is like I have a rosary on my altar, right? I have a Mary statue holding a Jesus, right? Like on my altar. And I think what the whole division in religion is something that people are coming to know as more of control, yes, as
yeah,
opposed to, right, religion. Even religion and spirituality is here to let us know that we have access. Like there are many paths to the light. So someone could say like, oh, I could say I love Jesus Christ, which I do, the ascended master, right? I love God in whatever way that is, but I also highly respect and follow Sekhmet, right?
yeah,
I had a vision one time where I call them the guardians of light. I saw that there are guardians of darkness and guardians of light, and it's not about who's better, right? That's like such a human
yeah.
thing. It's where do you feel drawn to, right? And each path leads us to the heart. It's all about the heart.
Sure.
So, but yes, in answer to your question,
Okay.
yes, yeah,
That's so
we
dope.
are evolving. This is a crazy time right now.
No, it's so dope because you see kind of like, and now that you bring it up that we're living in this crazy time in 2026, right? What I've noticed, or at least like through the podcast and through looking around and all that stuff, that people are searching for something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I don't know if it's a higher calling, an awakening, but they're starting to go back to the ways of old and some of the older deities, you know what I mean? And they're starting to believe in like, and you're not a woo-woo person, neither am I, but people are starting to bring back magic into the world.
Mm-hmm.
How how do you feel about that? That people are like trying to bring back like the old ways and trying to bring back, and I'm not talking about like Harry Potter magic and none of that, but like actual earth magic and like natural healing and all that stuff.
Well, I love it. I mean, obviously, I work in the space of magic, right?
Yeah,
But it's so interesting because it's not something that we've never had, which is so beautiful. It's our roots being restored, right? And one of my sayings is like finding our way back home to the root, because I'm not a huge history buff. I'll probably get the timelines incorrect, but when Catholicism came about, right, the Abrahamic period, they destroyed all of the scrolls and everything, and said that these deities and goddesses were evil, right, in order
yeah,
to promote control and right God outside of us. And so the fact that we are finding our way back to magic, it's really about finding our way back to ourselves, right? Like we are in co-partnership with spirit, right? Whether that be Sekhmet or God or Kali Ma or Hecate, right? These are all parts and aspects of us that we get to be liberated by. I think we're all really just searching for freedom, like peace. You know,
I feel you.
we're strung out as a human, and like, can we just get back to the day where we can sit on the porch and enjoy our coffee and not feel rushed to go do something? Or it's beautiful, the simplicity that we are trying to come back to.
It is. I completely agree with you on that. And like what I'm enjoying most though is just seeing people like, I don't want to say awaken, but kind of evolve in real time, and
Mhm.
like kind of like have this craving for, sovereignty, for peace, for, community. And it's funny how like society, I don't want to point a finger at society, but the companies that run like are big, that run media, they're always trying to push negative, trying to push diversity, trying to push, division amongst us. But if you really look through it all, everybody's just wanting the same thing: sovereignty, peace, community and connection. And I feel that maybe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel that people are turning back to older and ancient ways because that's what that represented. You know, the true heart, the true calling of community, and looking towards each other versus looking towards each other and within ourselves versus looking exteriorly towards like an authority or a god that's outside of us, when we're at a point now that we all know that spirituality, god, or whatever a person believes in is internal.
No, that's perfect. You said it perfectly. You said it, bro. I have nothing left to add. That was just on point. Yes, and yes.
Oh shit. so like besides Sekhmet, do you like connect with any other Egyptian deities or like any other spirit guides or some of the masters and stuff like that?
Yes, I do. So,
Woo.
Hecate is somebody that I connect with. Tehuti, I say Tehuti, Thoth or
Yeah.
Thoth. Everybody says it differently. I like to say Tehuti. He actually taught me or reminded me that I knew how to go into the Akashic Records. It was a very funny story. Um, Basically, I was like trying to do it with my eyes closed because I see clairvoyantly with my eyes open.
Yeah.
And I'm like laying on the bed. I put all these specific rocks and I'm like waiting. And Tahuti's right there saying, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What? What do you mean? What is this how like a god's supposed to talk to you, right?" Like that's and anyway, I was like, "I don't know. I'm trying to learn. Like this is what you're supposed to do." And he's like, can you get up?" He goes, "Is that how you see?" And I'm like, "Well, no." Right. And so he's like, "Well, go get a pen and a piece of paper." He's a scribe, yes. And sit at the table and write what you see, like say the prayer, access the Akash. And it was just so funny because he's the main one that I work with. I'm actually getting a Hathor statue today, probably tonight.
Nice.
From They come from Egypt, and then every now and then, it really depends. I do have access to the pantheon, so most of the Egyptian gods and goddesses. Sekhmet is obviously my main one. Every now and then, archangels will come through. Not as often for me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm more so Atlantean, Arcturian. So I do other cosmic lineages come through as well. but it's
Mm-hmm.
so individual, right? Like if I need it, or depending on the client I'm working with, if they need to connect, right? That's when they come in. I don't just sit really and just be like, oh, I want to pick this one today.
Yeah,
It's very oh, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's very precise. Does that make sense?
yeah. No, I get it. It's very
Yeah.
personalized, you would say,
Yeah.
according
Yes.
to who you're working with, right?
Yes.
And the dope thing about it is like I've had like one cool experience with the Akashic Records, like my first time, like, and I've told this story like 1,000 times on the pod, but I'll tell it again. Right?
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
here.
watching Ancient Aliens, and there was an episode of the Akashic Record, and it just like sparked my interest. So like I went on YouTube and like found this meditation. I was like, cool, I'm gonna try it out. And long story short, I was able to access it for a very brief moment, and I was never
Okay.
able to access it again. But I read through my book, and I know that my first incarnation was an Atlantean woman, and I had like 7 kids. And fast forwarding it to there, I was a shaman in like the Midwest. You know, for I was a Native American shaman, and then I was also a blacksmith in Japan, and now I'm here.
That's awesome.
But you know, that was like the little bit I got from it, but it was a dope experience, and I recommend it to everybody. If you're, trying to tap in, you could tap in. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. Like
Mhm.
that was the only time I was able to tap in, but it was a dope experience.
Have you tried since then to do it
I've tried
again?
like once or twice, but I never really like really like went on. I would say
Got it.
because for me like for me, I'm very open minded. So it's like cool if I see it once, I'm like, all right, cool, that exists. That's a real place. That's a real thing for me. And
Yeah.
and yet again, I feel that certain things have to call you,
Mhm.
and maybe I'm not at a point in life where those things are calling me yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I get that.
delivering other people's messages, seeing other people's perspective, that's what's my pull right now, and maybe that's what the universe wants me to do. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
But
well, for
other
sure. I mean, you gotta your guide every little thing that we do in our life is leading somewhere. So it's all necessary, you know?
true on that.
Yeah.
True on that.
Yeah.
So you're also a medical clairvoyant, right?
Yes.
All right. I have a question, and just entertain me here. When you're like
Okay.
diagnosing people, right? Do you like see what's? Do you like have? And this is gonna sound cheesy. Is it like X-ray vision, or is it like a hologram of things where like layers like destack from each other like a Russian nesting doll?
My I'm just gonna use your analogy. It'd probably be more like X-ray vision.
Okay.
But not, I mean, so when I go in and see, so another god that, so on my left over here I have Sekhmet, right? And on my right I have the god Horus, falcon,
Yeah.
of sight and precision. So I am drawn to, right, whatever my client comes in, is this right? This is the problem. The body is a beacon, and whenever we're going through dis-ease, uncomfortable, mental, physical, emotional, it's speaking to us, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we look at the body like, oh my God, you're breaking down. I hate you. And the body's talking to us saying, you're not listening to me. This is the only way for me to get your attention, right? Because that's when we pause and look. When something goes
Yeah.
wrong with our body, it stops us, right? So
Yeah.
when I see the body, I'm pinpointed to certain areas. And usually it's metaphysical, right? It's either metaphysical, so could be an ancestral curse or binding, could be a past life, could be a contract, something in the akashas, or it could be something from this lifetime that they haven't addressed, some trauma, right, from childhood, uh, something they're resisting when it comes to their gifts. It really just depends. And from there, I can see which part of their body the resistance is, which part of the body is being affected. Sekhmet, Horus, the pantheon, my guides, right, will give me a map of channels I need to connect, right, to either bring online or remove what's blocking a specific area. Um, it's
Okay.
it's it's different per person, but when someone comes to me saying this is what I'm experiencing, that is its own language. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
I get it. So
Okay.
all right. And and you said contract, right? right?
Yes.
And I've heard term it soul contracts, right? Is that what you were referring to? Right?
Yes.
How does that happen? Like how does a soul contract happen? How do you like break it? Like what's going on there? Because I've heard this term and I've always been curious on like exactly like how does one make a soul contract versus like because I've heard that somebody can make like a soul contract to like love one soul for the rest of eternity, all right? Or like
Mm.
a soul contract to poverty or silence or something of that nature. Like, so like, how does one get into those things? Like, how does somebody's soul make those contracts?
So the idea is that before we came here to Earth, right, our soul
Yeah.
reincarnated or chose to come to Earth, we had a contract. And within that contract, with the way that our life was going to play out, we said, okay, I am going to experience this dis-ease, right, in my body to help me to awaken to this point in life. I am going to I have to carry this relationship from a past life into this life. So I learn to not breadcrumb or to have low self worth, right? So these contracts that are created, they are chosen. Now, when it comes to like an ancestral binding, those can be passed on. So curses can be passed on.
Mm.
The reason they're coming to the forefront, right, is to restore sovereignty. But when it comes to cords or contracts, though, there's an agreement there between your soul and another soul.
Uh-huh.
Yes, does that? And
Mm,
so, oh, what?
No, I'm still following.
Oh, okay. So let's say you're on your spiritual path. You get to this point. You just got out of this relationship, and you're like, I know there's something more to this. Like this person, I know there's some sort of contract here. Like I can't get them out of my life. They're showing up in my dreams. Every time I try to start a new relationship, it gets botched, right? Like it just doesn't work. Well, that's when you would go see someone and say, "Hey, is there a soul contract here?" Right? Usually it's in the Akashas, so you can go double
Yeah.
check if it's in there. And there's a lesson there, like 10 out of 10 of the times, right? Because it's not like, oh, just perform a ritual, remove it, and that's it. The purpose of the soul contract is to learn the lesson in this lifetime. Yes.
Okay.
So you would say, okay, someone goes in and looks, or yes, you have a soul contract with so and so. The lesson here is you overgive, right? You are self-sacrificial when it comes to your relationships. Nothing is working right now because this is a point in your life when you need to learn this lesson, right? And obviously you don't have to, but generally what happens if there's a soul contract here is that will keep repeating itself. Right. So
Okay,
you'll
I got you.
continue to be self-sacrificial. So a lot of times when people look back or forward, right, they'll see that they have the same pattern.
Yeah, that is
And
true.
then you get to the point in your evolution, you're like, okay, there has to be something more to this. Like, what am I missing? And then you're like, I'm ready to do the work to clear and heal and end this contract.
I
So
got
that's
you.
kind of how it works. That's how it works.
All right, cool. And like, do all right? Because hmm, how can I say it? It's like when you reincarnate, right? Because I feel that every lifetime is a lesson learned, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So can a person's life kind of stay stagnant when they don't learn certain things that they like kind of signed up for when they reincarnate into this life or carnated for the first time?
Yeah. They can definitely stay stagnant, right? So it's really about, I mean, life is life. So the beauty about Earth is that we have free will. So there's nothing that says you have to learn these lessons in this lifetime. Are you going to reincarnate again with those same lessons? Maybe, yes, right?
Yeah.
But the idea and the whole reason for us being here on Earth School is that we evolve as a species and individually. And so the more that we evolve, the more aware we become at the patterns, right? The more
Uh-huh.
aware we become, and maybe you don't call it soul contracts, maybe you call it ancestral trauma, ancestral karma, right? It's different depending on the lineage. And so, will you meet similar situations if you choose not to deal with the last situation? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Can it feel like you're going in circles and not getting anywhere or going backwards? The phrase I
Yeah.
use is 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. Yeah, but the purpose for that is to shake you, right? He's like, hello, do you get that there's something more going on here than just your 9 to 5, wake up, sleep, eat Cheerios? Like, that's not what we're here for.
True. I
You
completely
know?
get you on that. And I feel 100% that everybody has a purpose, no matter how small or how huge it is. Everybody has a purpose and they need to do that in their life. You know what I mean? So like,
Mm-hmm.
have you seen anything that's really like shocked you or like blown your mind? You're like, whoa, I did not see this coming, or I can't believe this exists. In the higher realms and stuff like that.
Oh man. Uh it's I have had a lot of moments like that. And to try to remember them, I'm sure you know because you've done plant medicine journeys, right?
Yeah,
There's so much to them that to bring them into words is sometimes tough. But the one that's coming to me right now to share is so there's 1 to 7, there's 7 degrees of Sikkim, right? So if you take the
yeah,
chakras from the root to the crown. I was at the park one day and I heard you're going to channel the 8th degree. And I was like, this doesn't happen. This isn't the way this works. This isn't, you don't just be at a park and channel and then write it down and see the symbols, which is what I did. So I gave myself the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, this does happen. I know this far, on my path, this is how it works. And so I remember I was to do a journey. It's the 8th degree, it's the soul star, it's a gateway. And so what was crazy is in my journey, I went up and there was an actual gateway. And I was like, what is this gateway? And there was Anubis, and there was Tahuti, and there was Maat, right? And to enter the gateway, you had to, like for me, I had to reference like my entire life and what I've learned up until this point and held myself accountable to be able to move into the gateway, right? It's like the weighing of the heart and the feather. And it
yeah.
was crazy because I remember in the journey, I like doubted it because I was like, I don't know, is this real? Okay. But, there's so much emotion and just your brain goes so fast. And so I'm putting these together like this wheel, like the wheel of fate, right? Wheel of fortune tarot card. And once I was able to put those pieces in, and I came to it and connected it to my heart, just everything that I've learned, right? I was like, okay, maybe this is possible. Like, this is a thing. And I did, right? I did all the things. The gates opened, I stepped through, and in that space was just pure lightness. It was peace. It was so still, right? There was nothing to get, there was only a place to be. And in that space, I was able to evolve to a new space of knowledge. And so the craziness about that is I didn't think or I didn't believe in guardians of this sacred knowledge. Like when I
Yeah.
witnessed it and experienced it, like we all have access to the same thing, but there is serious work that one must do in order to gain that access. Like the
No, I got
access
you on
of the magic that sits in the center of the pyramids of Giza, right? And all the areas all over the world. Like it's not just you show up and they give it to you. And that was pretty profound for me. I was like, whoa, like this is so much bigger than I could even comprehend.
No, I get you on that because and this is me just sharing my experience.
Mhm.
With my own plant based experience. When just referencing back when I saw Thoth, right? What I was actually experiencing, and it's hard to kind of put in words, but I would say it's the stacking of the dimensions on top of
Mhm.
each other. And I was with one of my best friends, and I was with one of my close cousins, and I was able to see what dimension their soul was at, and how it correlated with them, and how it affected them. You know what I mean? And it
Wow, that's
was
cool.
it was it was so dope because it was like, but of course a whole bunch of other stuff occurred. Like I saw people's higher selves, and I also saw like chains going from like your body. Well, I'm using your as an example, like your
Yes, yes, yes.
body. Yeah, I saw chains going from like certain points of your body to like places on your higher self, and I would correlate that with that's where like you're spiritually being afflicted with.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh snap, and I kind of made all those correlations, and I was just like, okay, cool. Some people are like trapped in this like out. Well, with my cousin, and I'm using him as an example. I saw that he was trapped in this like dimension that was like filled with like alchemy, where he was trying to like transcend upper, but he was
Mm-hmm.
still trying to like ground himself here.
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't fully like letting this go in order to go up. So he was like in a stage of alchemy or transmutation, trying to move up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was dope. It was dope. It was trippy
Yeah,
as fuck. It was trippy as
it
fuck.
is. Yeah, it's not, it's a whole nother thing when you can experience that. Like,
Yeah.
whew.
But like, what advice or like what guidance would you give somebody who wants to like explore their spirituality and they don't really know like what path to take or like how to like start up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. That such a big question, but to be honest, it's really about your joy. You know, I think we put so much emphasis on right and wrong, and we don't realize that joy is an expression of the heart. Like I truly get excited when I think about Egypt. It brings me to tears. Like if I go in meditation, I like it feels like home, and I love researching about it, right? Like so if you're just starting on your path, there's something in the spiritual space that lights you up. Whether it's tarot cards, whether it's praying, whether it's trying a cool meditation technique, whether it's a podcast, whether it's the Egyptian lineage or Atlanteans, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, follow it. Follow it with all of your heart, right? And don't let anybody tell you that that's wrong or that's crazy because for me, the whole reason I got here was there was a little ember in me that was like, I know there's something more to this. I know I'm here to do something like extraterrestrial. That was like my word. I didn't even know what it meant, right?
Yeah.
But I followed it, and this is where I ended up. I've created a life that I absolutely love. I get to witness magic. And if I would have listened to anybody along the way, as far as like, oh, like that's not real, I wouldn't be here. And so
So
truly to follow your joy about spirituality. And that could be like church, that could be going to church.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with church. I have like so many great memories when I used to do like go to my youth pastor and just learn, you know, that's where it starts.
No, I get you on that. And like, and I'm gonna just put like all the different spiritualities and religions aside, right?
Yeah.
Is in life, do you feel that following your intuition eventually leads you to a point that you live a joyous life and that helps you kind of like ascend to the level of where you could like connect higher with people?
Well, I think in that question, you can't really put spirituality aside
No, no,
because they,
I mean like I don't want to say spirituality, but I meant like specific paths, like
oh,
like
got it.
Christianity, Islam, those kind of things. Like I meant like um religion and like practices. Like I know it's
Mm,
spiritual. You
yes.
know what I mean?
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. I get it now. I get it. So I do believe that, but I believe that that's half of the equation. So I
Okay.
believe that you must be willing to address your shadows and your darkness, like the polarity of life. A lot of times people use intuition or spirituality or dimensions 5D, 6D to escape the feelings of guilt, shame, pain, right? And it's in our shadows and our pain and our trauma that we find that freedom and our peace. It's a huge part of our character. And really, without that, without addressing those, if you continue to just try to look up instead of in, you're going to
Yeah.
run into issues with darkness, right? You're going to run into demonic entities, energies. You know, you can go all the way up as psychosis or teachers or right that are trying to teach you or manipulate you.
Yeah.
There's so many paths that come right back to ourself as far as how we choose to find joy and peace and liberation.
I got you. I got you
Yeah.
on that. And is being human, right? Is being human like the first step in any entity's like incarnation cycle? Because I
I think
always
I,
hear
okay.
because I always hear like people talking about like extraterrestrial like connections or like extraterrestrial spirit guides and beings and incarnations, but is like being human like that first step for us to like, well, basically what I'm asking is, in our incarnation cycle, is like being human the tutorial for us to like move forward?
So I don't know that with 100% accuracy, but I'm going to say
Yeah.
what I do know. And
Okay.
that is, I'm going to say that no, because, for example, Sekhmet, she was never human. She's a primordial deity, meaning before it all began.
Yeah.
So one of the aspects that I'm studying is and bringing forth, which I think others are too, is bringing the cosmic, I don't want to say cultures, species, right?
Yeah.
The outer galaxies, what we call aliens, to our consciousness, like that you don't have to be human. Like we don't all start as, like, how people are like, I reincarnated, I'm the reincarnation of Archangel Michael, or I've even seen people say I'm a reincarnation of Goddess Sekhmet, and I'm like, no, you're not, because she was never human, right? Like there
Yeah.
are some species out there that were never human, and to be human is a choice. It's a gift, right? And it's strictly here for evolution of the soul,
Mhm.
but not every soul chooses to be human.
I got you. And and from your perspective and your knowledge, what makes being human so special?
Well, from what I know is that we have this thing called a body, right? Our vessel, and we get to have the five senses and experience actual connection, right? Hugs, touch, emotion. We really get to take our consciousness, our knowledge of cosmos, of other worlds, and make it materialize here. We get to share it with each other. And I think once we can move through the hardship or the shadows, and we can really see that this world has so much beauty to it, like just people, right? Just like you and me being on this podcast, we know each other, and being able to have a conversation and connect through super cool technology, and we get to like access super cool magic, right? And this is how it's so
Oh yeah.
childlike, right? Like super cool food. And this was not me like 8 years ago. I was always like, oh, corporate, like what am I going to be doing? But like I love my licorice and sour straws and awesome restaurants and dancing and all the things that we get to do as humans. I think we forget how magical that is just in itself.
I feel you on that. And what do you think is the most powerful aspect of being human?
Most powerful aspect of being human. I would have to say our ability to alchemize, our ability to take something that is or was and had a certain trajectory for our life and become aware of it and say no more, and completely altering our state of being and the new trajectory for our life. Like that's power. We have that innately within us.
That's so dope. And that makes a whole lot of sense, really, because you do see people come from, they could come from the ivory tower and fall to rock bottom and stay there, and you can see somebody coming from the mud ascend to the clouds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I can see how being human is a form of alchemy, or a form of spiritual alchemy for the soul.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think the word that I was missing that to hit on is possibility.
True.
And I think it's overused sometimes, right? Anything's possible. But if you really dive into like the science of it and alchemy and energy, like it really is, if you're willing to
True.
do the work, right?
Yeah. Not,
Yeah.
and you're 100% right, because we're, and you know, as corny as this is gonna sound, and as outdated as it sounds, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
could, you know, you could have nothing and have end up with everything, and you could have everything and maintain it and have nothing. You know,
100%. Yeah.
so I can see how being human and living in this incarnation and living in this realm kind of like forces the soul to transmute and, you know, learn and grow.
Yeah. I think, it's so funny because in my 8 years of doing this, the thing that I got the most, aside from everything that I can do, right, to help humanity, is so most of my life, I was suicidal. I didn't want to be here. I thought it was the biggest joke. Like, why would I ever choose to be here? I always felt different. Life was really hard, traumatic for me. So the biggest thing that I've gotten is my ability to wake up and love being here,
Yeah.
right? And to look outside and be like, wow, and obviously I have my ups and downs. It's not like
Of course.
rainbows and unicorns every day. That's life. But it's this appreciation for this life. And I don't think we stop to think about that enough.
I actually I agree with you 100%. I feel that because of the way society is, and yet again, don't want to blame social media and technology and media, but since we're always bombarded with so much news so rapidly, and you know, being from New York itself, you're always on the go. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
it's hard for like somebody like my, well, when I'm in, well, at least when I'm home. When I leave New York, it's a different story. But while I'm here in the city, it's hard to like stop and just look around and appreciate everything because of the fact that my environment is so demanding. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I feel that, you know, a lot of us is going through that stress where we're not being able to, you know, quote unquote, stop and smell the roses.
Hmm. But we're set up that way, right? Like, I have so much compassion for that. That's where I was. I was working like
True.
70, 80-hour weeks, going to school, college full time, 2, 3 jobs. Like, I didn't have time, my only thing was like, when was my next tequila shot on the weekend, right? Like, I would escape into work and then escape from work and then do it all over again. Like, the idea of presence is it's tough right now, but I think
Yeah.
what's beautiful is a lot of us can feel the shift and the transition into, no, but that's what we actually want now. Like, we're
Yeah.
tired of this, right?
Yeah. I feel that human society as a whole has a big case of burnout.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially with, you know, everything that's happening in the world and all that stuff. I think that's where everybody's at right now. And what what advice would you give, or like, yeah, what advice would you give for somebody to like kind of be more present and aware of the moment?
To be honest, I would say give yourself like 5 minutes in the day. It doesn't really matter to like, it could be the morning, could be night. I'm a night person. And to just sit in silence and ask yourself, body, mind, and soul, I put those together. Like, what do you want to tell me? And then just be quiet, right? See, where does the sensation come up? Does a thought come up? Do you notice your mind just won't be quiet? Do you feel a pang in your heart? Do you find a missing for a family member or somebody who's passed? Are you clouded with all of this pain? And that's what presence does, is it makes us aware of what's running our life in the background and what needs our attention.
I feel you. I feel you. And Angela, before I let you go, because it's been a blast so far, I do ask all my guests this last question.
Yeah.
And is, do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or advice for the roomies?
Man, I would say there's no place to get. There's no place to get to. And that this is truly a journey, and that to just really try to sink into the day to day, right? There's no right or wrong way to do the human life. And none of us have it figured out, right? I don't have it figured out. I have an aspect of it that I'm pretty good at, but I still struggle, right? I still feel emotions. I still have days where I wake up saying like, fuck, why do I do this? Like, what's the point? You know, and I
True.
get back on the horse. So just to have grace with yourself, compassion, and follow your joy. Follow your joy. Don't let anybody steal your joy.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
And roomies, remember before I let you go is that take a second for yourself, be present, enjoy, the world around you and enjoy the people around you, because next thing you know, it's 10 years later and you're like, where'd everything go? Besides that, peace out.